Welcome back, my fate-overriding architect. Something absolutely extraordinary just occurred that has observers experiencing profound metaphysical disorientation. Your transformation wasn't following predetermined path toward destiny that was already written for you, but was actively rewriting what destiny itself had established as your trajectory, creating situation where rather than you conforming to fate's plan, fate itself reorganized around choices you made that exceeded or contradicted what was supposed to happen, making it appear that even destiny recognized your will was more powerful than its predetermined script and stepped aside to accommodate reality you were creating through refusing to accept future it had written. This wasn't you fulfilling prophecy or meeting expectations fate had set. This was you rejecting entire timeline destiny had planned, choosing different path that wasn't supposed to be available, and somehow causing reality itself to restructure around your unauthorized deviation, creating new destiny that accommodates choices you made despite them violating what was meant to occur. According to original fate script, everyone, including yourself, believed was absolute and unchangeable. The architects have been monitoring destiny transcendence and fate override phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you demonstrated as autonomous will, temporal sovereignty, when someone's determination to create specific future exceeds strength of causal momentum pushing toward different predetermined outcome. Their persistent choice-making can actually override fate's trajectory, causing timeline itself to reorganize around path they're forging, rather than forcing them onto path that was originally destined. Making will triumph over predetermination through demonstrating that consciousness possesses sovereignty even over temporal destiny when conviction is absolute enough. Most people follow their destiny. They make choices that lead where fate intended, fulfill roles circumstances prepared them for, arrive at futures that seem inevitable in retrospect. Because their path was predetermined by causal chains they never challenged successfully. But you apparently broke causal determination, making choices that contradicted what destiny had established as your trajectory, persisting in creating reality that wasn't supposed to exist according to original timeline, demonstrating will powerful enough to override fate itself, forcing destiny to rewrite script around unauthorized path you forged through refusing to accept future it had predetermined. Watch what's happening as observers process impossibility of what occurred. Determinism is being questioned. People who believed future was fixed through causal necessity are witnessing your demonstration that will can override determination, creating philosophical crisis where fundamental assumptions about fate and free will require revision because you proved choice can triumph over predestination. Prophecy is revealed as conditional. Predictions that seemed absolute are now recognized as describing probable futures rather than certain outcomes, making them vulnerable to being rewritten by someone determined enough to create different reality than destiny intended. Some observers are interpreting your success as divine favor, believing that only supernatural intervention could override destiny's plan. They conclude you must be specially chosen or blessed, making your fate override seem like exception proving rule rather than demonstration that anyone's will might override their predetermined path. Others are recognizing human sovereignty, understanding that you rewrote destiny through sheer determination reveals that consciousness possesses power over fate that materialist determinism denies, making your demonstration teach that humans are fate creators rather than just fate followers when conviction becomes absolute. The truly mysterious element is that destiny itself accommodated your rebellion rather than punishing deviation or forcing you back onto predetermined path. Fate reorganized to incorporate unauthorized trajectory you created, as if recognizing your will was legitimate, force it needed to accommodate rather than violation it should suppress. Your ascension wasn't growth following destiny's plan. It was destiny rewrite, and even destiny stepped out your way. Through recognizing will that refused to accept predetermined future, creating new, timeline-accommodating reality you forged, despite it contradicting what was supposed to happen. Now the architects are analyzing what creates autonomous will, temporal sovereignty, and they're identifying what they call conviction momentum, causal override, when someone's internal determination to create specific future becomes stronger than external causal momentum pushing toward different predetermined outcome. Their persistent choice-making generates enough reality-shaping force to actually redirect causal chains, causing timeline to reorganize around path they're creating, rather than continuing on trajectory that prior causes had established as inevitable. Most people's choices are causally determined. Decisions emerge from prior causes, including genetics, upbringing, circumstances, making free will illusory because choices are predetermined by factors beyond control, creating lives that unfold according to causal necessity rather than genuine autonomous selection. But your choices apparently generated causal force, internal. Conviction became reality-shaping, power that could redirect external causal chains rather than just being determined by them, making your will genuine cause in itself rather than just effect of prior causes, creating genuine autonomy where determination exceeded predetermined trajectories. Momentum. Consider what conviction momentum override requires metaphysically. Your will had to become causal force rather than just experiencing desires and making choices that were themselves caused by prior factors. Your consciousness had to generate genuine causation that could affect timeline, rather than just being effect within it, making your determination literal force capable of bending reality rather than just subjective experience occurring within predetermined reality. Conviction had to exceed circumstantial momentum. Internal force of your determination had to become stronger than accumulated momentum of all external factors pushing toward predetermined outcome, creating superiority where will triumphed over causation through sheer intensity of commitment to creating different future than circumstances were producing. Watch what conviction override creates in reality effect. Improbable synchronicities multiply as you persist in creating unauthorized future. Circumstances that shouldn't happen start occurring to support your path, creating appearance that universe itself is cooperating with your rebellion against predetermined destiny through providing opportunities and resources that wouldn't exist if timeline was following original script. Predetermined obstacles dissolve. Barriers that should have prevented deviation from destiny's plan fail to stop you or disappear entirely, as if fate itself is removing blocks rather than defending predetermined trajectory, making your progress easier than it should be given you're defying what was supposed to happen. Some studying consciousness and reality recognize that intention does affect outcomes. Quantum observation effects, manifestation phenomena, prayer efficacy all suggest consciousness shapes reality rather than just perceiving it, making your conviction override potentially literal reality creation where will generates causal force that redirects timeline rather than metaphorical description of fortunate choices within predetermined causality, others exploring free will and determinism. Note that compatibilist frameworks do allow will to be causal, even if choices have prior causes. Consciousness itself can be genuine cause affecting outcomes, making your demonstration potentially consistent with sophisticated understanding, where will is both caused and causing, rather than requiring pure libertarian free will to explain how determination could override predetermined trajectory. A few from mystical traditions recognize that will override fate appears. Across spiritual frameworks, karma can be transcended, divine plans can be negotiated, destiny can be rewritten through sufficient spiritual development, making your demonstration reflect pattern where advanced consciousness gains sovereignty over fate that ordinary consciousness remains subjected to through lacking conviction strength. Necessary for causal override, the architects observe that conviction momentum, causal override, is what enabled your destiny rewrite. Internal determination became stronger than external causal momentum, creating genuine autonomy, where will redirected timeline. Most choices are causally determined. Your conviction generated causal force, and determination exceeding predetermined. Trajectory's momentum is what made destiny reorganize around unauthorized path you created through refusing to accept future fate had written, demonstrating that consciousness can achieve temporal sovereignty when conviction becomes absolute enough to override causal necessity itself. Something powerful is spreading among observers now. What the architects call determinism collapse, existential liberation, where witnessing your destiny override is forcing people to reconsider their relationship with fate, recognizing that if you could rewrite predetermined future, then perhaps they too possess sovereignty over destiny they'd accepted as unchangeable, creating simultaneous liberation from fatalistic resignation and burden of responsibility for creating futures they can no longer blame on inevitable fate. Most people accept destiny as fixed, believing future is predetermined by past causes or divine plan. They resign themselves to whatever fate has established, making them passive recipients of predetermined futures rather than active creators of chosen realities, because they assume their choices cannot override causal necessity or destiny's script. But your demonstration that fate can be rewritten is shattering fatalistic assumptions. If destiny itself reorganized to accommodate your unauthorized deviation, then predetermined futures are conditional rather than absolute, making everyone's fate potentially subject to being overridden by sufficient conviction and persistent choice-making toward different outcomes. Watch what determinism collapse creates in life approach. Some experience liberation, recognizing they're not bound by predetermined destiny makes them feel empowered to pursue futures they'd abandoned as impossible, creating renewed agency where they become active fate creators rather than passive destiny followers. Because your demonstration proved sovereignty is possible, others experience burden. If destiny isn't fixed, then they're responsible for creating their futures rather than just accepting what fate delivers, making them accountable for outcomes they can no longer blame on inevitable causation beyond their control, creating uncomfortable responsibility that fatalism had protected them from. A few experience paralysis. If anything is possible through sufficient conviction, then how do they know which future to pursue? Creating decision anxiety, where unlimited possibility becomes overwhelming rather than liberating, because fatalism had provided clear path even if predetermined, while sovereignty requires choosing direction without destiny's guidance. Some studying existentialism recognize that freedom creates anxiety. Sartre described how radical freedom without predetermined essence creates existential dread, making your demonstration of fate override teach existential lesson that sovereignty over destiny brings responsibility and choice burden alongside liberation from predetermined constraint. Others exploring agency and empowerment note that believing in control does improve outcomes, growth mindset, internal locus of control, self-efficacy all show that people who believe they can affect their futures achieve more than fatalistic determinists, making your destiny override valuable teaching regardless of metaphysical truth, because believing sovereignty is possible creates better results than accepting predetermined fate. A few recognize that some prefer determinism, having futures predetermined by fate or causation provides comfort and relieves responsibility, making them resist. Liberation, your demonstration, offers through preferring to maintain fatalistic worldview, even if it means accepting less agency than might actually be available if your sovereignty demonstration reveals genuine human capacity. Some are beginning destiny rewrite attempts, using your demonstration as proof that fate can be overridden. They're cultivating conviction and making persistent choices toward futures that predetermined trajectories suggest are impossible, testing whether they too can achieve temporal sovereignty you demonstrated through refusing to accept destiny's circumstances had established for them. The architects observe that determinism collapse, existential liberation, reveals that your fate override has implications beyond your personal transformation. You're teaching that predetermined destiny is conditional rather than absolute, making everyone potentially sovereign. Fatalism provides comfort. Your demonstration offers agency and recognition that destiny can be rewritten. Forces choosing between comfortable resignation to predetermined fate and uncomfortable responsibility of creating futures through exercising sovereignty. That conviction override demonstrates is possible when determination exceeds causal momentum, pushing toward different predetermined outcomes. Now the architects are revealing what made destiny accommodate your rebellion. You apparently demonstrated what they call alignment transcendence, paradoxical cooperation, where your deviation from predetermined path was simultaneously violation of destiny's script and fulfillment of deeper purpose that destiny itself recognized as more valuable than maintaining original timeline, creating paradox where fate opposed your choices on surface level while ultimately supporting them on deeper level because unauthorized path you created served larger purposes better than predetermined trajectory would have. Most destiny violations are punished when people deviate from fate's plan through making choices that contradict predetermined path. Circumstances typically force them back toward original trajectory or make deviation costly, maintaining causal determination by making alternatives to destiny's script difficult or impossible to sustain. But your violation was accommodated despite contradicting original timeline. Your persistent deviation eventually caused destiny itself to reorganize, supporting unauthorized path rather than continuing to resist it, suggesting your rebellion somehow aligned with deeper purposes that original predetermined plan didn't serve as effectively. Consider what paradoxical cooperation requires philosophically. Destiny must have multiple levels: surface level, predetermined timeline that specific events were supposed to follow, and deeper level purposes or principles that timelines serve, making it possible for deviating from surface plan to better serve deeper purpose, creating situation where violating predetermined path paradoxically fulfills destiny's ultimate intentions better than following original script would have. Watch what alignment transcendence creates in fate dynamics. Initial resistance gives way to support early. In your deviation, destiny resisted through obstacles and setbacks, maintaining predetermined trajectory. But as you persisted in creating unauthorized path, resistance transformed into cooperation as if fate recognized your path, served deeper purposes, making original timeline obsolete or suboptimal, creating shift from opposition to support without you changing direction. Some studying teleology and purpose recognize that destinations matter more than routes. If destiny cares about achieving certain purposes rather than following specific predetermined paths, then deviation serving purposes better than original route would rationally be accommodated even if it violates surface level script, making your experience potentially reveal that fate is purpose-oriented rather than path-rigid. Others exploring mythology note that heroes often succeed by breaking rules. Jason taking Medea, Prometheus stealing fire, various trickster figures achieving goods through violating divine plans, making your destiny override fit archetypal pattern where human will that violates predetermined order, paradoxically fulfills deeper purposes that rigid rule following wouldn't achieve. A few from complexity theory recognize that systems can support violations of local rules to achieve global optimization. Individual components breaking specific constraints can enable emergent properties that rigid rule following would prevent, suggesting timeline as complex system might accommodate your rule breaking because it enabled outcomes serving larger purposes better than predetermined. Conformity would, some attempting similar deviations, discover that not all violations get accommodated, trying to override destiny through pursuing unauthorized paths. Many experience sustained resistance, suggesting their deviations don't serve deeper purposes, making fate continue opposing rather than eventually supporting, creating distinction between your accommodated rebellion and their suppressed attempts. Others recognize that you might have sensed deeper alignment. Perhaps your deviation wasn't random rebellion but was intuitive response to sensing that unauthorized path served larger purposes better than predetermined one, making your choice reflect deeper wisdom rather than just willful defiance, explaining why destiny ultimately accommodated rather than continuing to oppose your violation. The architects observe that alignment transcendence, paradoxical cooperation is what made destiny support your rebellion. Deviation from predetermined path paradoxically served deeper purposes better than following original script. Most violations get resisted. Your deviation got accommodated, and paradox where fate ultimately supported choices that violated its surface-level plan suggests destiny cares more about achieving certain purposes than about maintaining specific, predetermined trajectories, making authorized deviations possible when they serve deeper intentions that rigid adherence to original timeline wouldn't fulfill as effectively as unauthorized paths that break predetermined script. The architects are now analyzing temporal mechanics of your destiny rewrite. You apparently created what they call retroactive causation timeline restructuring, where present choices you made didn't just affect future outcomes but actually reorganized past causal chains to accommodate the unauthorized path you were creating, making it appear that timeline itself rewrote history to rationalize present you created despite past that should have prevented it from being possible. Most causation flows forward. Past causes create present effects, which become causes of future effects, making temporal arrow point from what was toward what will be with past, determining future rather than future affecting past. But your destiny override apparently involved backward causation. Choices you made in present somehow affected past causal chains, making events that had already occurred reorganize their meaning or consequences to support unauthorized future you were creating, as if timeline was reconstructing its own history to accommodate reality you were manifesting despite past that should have predetermined different outcome. Watch what retroactive causation creates experientially. Your history feels different. Looking back at past events, they now seem to have been preparing you for unauthorized path you created rather than for predetermined destiny they originally supported, as if past itself changed to accommodate present you manifested through choices that shouldn't have been possible given what had occurred before. Some studying quantum mechanics note that retroactive causation does occur. Delayed choice experiments show that present measurements affect past quantum states, making backward temporal influence real. Phenomenon at quantum level, even if controversial at macro level, suggesting your retroactive timeline restructuring might reflect quantum mechanical possibilities. operating at scale classical physics doesn't expect. Others exploring narrative and meaning-making recognize that present does change past significance. Same. Historical events mean different things depending on what follows them, making backward reinterpretation normal. Psychological process, even if literal, backward causation remains metaphysically controversial, suggesting your experience might reflect meaning restructuring rather than timeline rewriting, even though phenomenologically, distinction becomes unclear. A few from mystical traditions note that enlightenment experiences often include retroactive healing. Past traumas or karmic patterns get resolved through present realization affecting past in ways that seem temporally backwards, making your retroactive timeline restructuring potentially reflect advanced consciousness capacity that ordinary awareness doesn't possess. Some attempting to understand mechanics discover conceptual difficulty, trying to explain how present choices could affect past causes creates logical paradoxes and causal loops that rational frameworks struggle to accommodate, making mystery of how your destiny override actually worked remain fundamentally inexplicable. Using conventional causation models built on forward temporal flow, others are accepting temporal mystery, recognizing that consciousness-time relationship might be more complex than linear causation assumes. They embrace not fully understanding how your rewrite worked while acknowledging observable fact that predetermined destiny did reorganize around unauthorized path you created through persistent choice-making toward future that original timeline said was impossible. A few recognize that timeline restructuring might be ongoing rather than being completed transformation. Your destiny rewrite might be a continuous process where each choice you make reorganizes past and future around present you're creating, making temporal sovereignty active practice rather than achieved state requiring ongoing conviction to maintain timeline override that would collapse back toward original predetermined trajectory if you stopped generating sufficient causal force through absolute determination. The architects observe that retroactive causation timeline restructuring reveals that your destiny override affected past as well as future, present. Choices reorganized historical causation to rationalize unauthorized reality you created. Normal causation flows forward. Your rewrite affected backward, and retroactive timeline reconstruction, where past events reorganized, meaning to support present that shouldn't have been possible given original causal chains, suggests temporal mechanics are more complex than linear determinism assumes, making your ascension demonstrate that consciousness can achieve sovereignty over time itself when conviction becomes absolute, enough to override not just future, predetermined outcomes, but past causal necessities that should have made different futures impossible. Now something's emerging that the architects call destiny sovereignty recognition price. Observers understanding that you rewrote fate through absolute conviction are discovering that temporal sovereignty requires sacrifices and costs that most people aren't willing to pay, making your destiny override simultaneously inspiring. Proof of human potential and sobering. Reminder that achieving fate transcendence demands more than most will invest. Despite desiring freedom from predetermined destiny, most people want sovereignty without cost. They desire ability to override fate and create chosen futures while maintaining comfort, security, and social acceptance that following predetermined paths provides, making them want temporal freedom without paying price that achieving it requires. But your demonstration reveals that destiny override isn't free. Rewriting fate demanded sacrifices that made your path costly and difficult in ways that most people would choose to avoid, even though they envy sovereignty you achieved through paying price they're unwilling to invest. Watch what sovereignty price recognition creates in response. Some calculate they cannot afford. Cost, recognizing that rewriting destiny requires sacrifices exceeding what they're willing to pay, makes them accept predetermined fate as better option than pursuing sovereignty that would cost too much, choosing comfortable determinism over costly freedom because price of temporal autonomy exceeds its value for them. Others question whether you paid unnecessarily, wondering if destiny override could be achieved through less costly path. They resist accepting that price you paid was necessary rather than being excessive sacrifice that smarter approach might have avoided, protecting hope that they could achieve sovereignty without paying full price your path demanded. A few recognized that price was specific to your path, what you sacrificed to override your particular destiny doesn't necessarily predict what others would need to sacrifice to override theirs, making cost estimation difficult because each destiny rewrite requires unique payments that cannot be predicted from observing others' paths.